My bestie won the lottery and said she'd take care of me. I posted on my feed to show off. Looks like I'm set for life. My boss messaged me in the middle of the night. Are you quitting? How much is he paying you? Whatever he's giving you, I'll double it. Don't leave. Tell me how he's planning to take care of you. Maybe I can do that, too. Just don't quit. I stroked my chin, thinking. My boss has a fiancé, doesn't he? What's he trying to do? Make me his mistress? I replied sincerely, boss, it's one or the other, mistress or employee. Nobody has the energy to do both jobs at once. Before bed, my best friend messaged me, babe. Remember that number I had you pick out for me last time? The lottery ticket won. She sent me a screenshot. It was a $5 million prize. I was the one who picked the last digit for her. Babe, you get a cut of this. Sweetie. I'll take care of you from now on. I'm taking you on a shopping spree tomorrow. I could feel the pure joy radiating from her words. Thanks, babe. I'm counting on you from now on. I screenshotted our last exchange and posted it on my feed with the caption, I'm officially a kept woman. Nothing tastes better than a free ride. I casually messaged my boss, I'd like to request a day off tomorrow. Then I locked my phone and went back to sleep. In my dreams, my bestie and I were walking arm in arm, wearing sunglasses, the $5 million scent wafting through our hair. Trailing behind us were several guys in unbuttoned white shirts, their 8-packs artfully exposed by the breeze as they carried our shopping bags from every brand imaginable. When I woke up in the morning, my phone had blown up. My boss had replied at 2 a.m. Louis Lee, just got out of a meeting and saw your message. It's not too busy lately, so take a break if you want to. Louis Lee, why the sudden day off? Are you feeling sick? Louis Lee, if you're not feeling well, get some rest. I'm still on a business trip abroad, but my private doctor isn't far from your place. If you need him, I can have him come over anytime. Louis Lee, Chloe, what's that post on your feed about? I thought you didn't have a boyfriend. Louis Lee, suddenly have a boyfriend? And he's going to take care of you? Are you quitting? Louis Lee, you can't trust men. Their words are poison. Don't just quit your job for some guy, especially one you just met. Louis Lee, I've thought about it, and we have a lot of work right now. Sorry, but I can't approve your request for time off. Then, at 3 a.m. Louis Lee, how much is he paying you? Louis Lee, whatever he's giving you, I'll double it. Don't leave. Louis Lee, tell me how he's planning to take care of you. Maybe I can do that, too. We can discuss it. Just don't quit. I stroked my chin, thinking. My boss has a fiancé. When he poached me from my last company with a high salary, I heard people gossiping that he had a fiancé and that I should definitely keep my distance. What's he trying to do? Make me his mistress? I replied sincerely, boss, it's one or the other, mistress or employee. Nobody has the energy to do both jobs at once. He replied instantly, mistress or employee? You mean I can't be your sugar daddy and keep my job? What about this huge company? I had to laugh. He was laying it on thick. How big of a company? A year ago, when he poached me, the entire company consisted of 5 people, the boss, a receptionist, a janitor, me and his driver, Mr. Evans. I was constantly worried the company would suddenly go under, yet he was always flying overseas for meetings. I started to suspect I'd joined a scam operation. He'd often give me a single task and ask for 3 different concepts, and as soon as I turned them in, he'd jet off to some foreign country for another meeting. In a whole year, I hadn't met a single client. If it weren't for the fact that my $8,000 monthly salary, plus various bonuses, was pretty decent and always on time, I would have bolted long ago. Louis Lee, just tell me how much money he has. I replied, $5 million. That should shut him up. Louis Lee, only $5 million? Wait till I get back, I'll give you $10 million. You're not allowed to quit. He was so arrogant. Only 5 million? Was only the right word for 5 million? That's more money than most people see in a lifetime. Wait, my CPU is overheating. He said he'd give me 10 million and that I wasn't allowed to quit? If I had $10 million, why would I still need to work? What a joke. Louis Lee, boarding my flight. We'll talk when I get back. My bestie, Jessica, called. Babe, come on down. I'd already asked him for the day off anyway. Worst case, he'd dock a day's pay. I scurried downstairs and found her car. You took the day off, too? Jess grinned at me. I fired my boss. I was so done with all that crap. I was working more overtime than actual hours. Now that I've got money, I can find an easier job. My friend worked in sales. In just 3 years, she had a car and her own place, but after her loan payments, there wasn't much left from her monthly salary. She was exhausted every single day. I started to wonder if I should quit, too. Jessica drove to a mall we could never have afforded on our own. She told me, "Girl, don't look at the price tags today. If you like it, it's yours." Ugh, she was so cool. But I knew perfectly well that this money was hers. She bought the ticket, and I just picked one number. The fact that she told me about the winnings showed how much she trusted me, and I couldn't push my luck by constantly asking for more. I'm a homebody by nature. I avoid going out unless I have to, just shuttling between work and home. This was my first time in a mall filled with luxury brands. The perfume smell that hit me as we walked in was so strong it made me a little dizzy. My friend's eyes suddenly lit up as she looked up. Whoa, hot guy. I followed her gaze. Where? She pointed to a huge banner hanging in the mall. It was for an upcoming game, with 4 handsome cartoon characters displayed prominently in the center of the mall. But the more I looked at them, the more familiar they seemed. Then I realized my friend's gaze wasn't on the cartoon characters, but on the man behind them. A photo of a man. I couldn't believe it as I read the name below the picture. Creative Director of Nexus Games, Louis Lee. Oh, crap. He really did look like he had $10 million. Jessica was practically swooning. He's so gorgeous. Do you think it's possible for someone's luck with money and love to hit all at once? I pursed my lips. It's photoshopped. He doesn't look like that. The Louis Lee on the poster had a beautiful smile, warm and approachable. He was definitely handsome. But the real Louis Lee was cold, ruthless, spoke concisely, and was so brutally efficient that just seeing him made you want to stay 1,000 feet away. You know him? He's my boss. Before I met Louis Lee, I was just a comic artist. When that couldn't pay the bills, I found a small studio doing illustration work. Louis found my contact info from somewhere. Even my boss at the time recommended I go work for him, telling me how big and full of opportunities Louis's company was. I knew what that meant. It was just a roundabout way of firing me. Whatever, as long as I was getting paid. The salary was double, so I signed the 3-year contract Louis gave me. His driver brought me to my current office, and only then did I realize just how good my old boss was at selling empty promises. Louis would come to the office once or twice a week. It was tiny, so small that he didn't even have his own office. He just sat at a fancy desk across from me and would stay there all day. I always felt awkward when he was there. With the boss sitting right in front of me and no immediate work to do, I didn't dare slack off. I'd just work on the comic series I was still doing on the side to look busy. Every time I worried the company might go under, my full month's salary would reliably hit my bank account at 10 a.m. on the last day of the month, putting my mind at ease. A staff member pulled back the curtain, and Jess twirled around. Babe, does this dress look good? It's okay. My mind was completely occupied by Louis Lee. Because I had just Googled his name. And it was shocking. I mean, who Googles their boss on their first day of work? As long as the paycheck clears, who cares who they are, right? I was on edge all day, worried I'd get fired for making fun of him. On the way home, Louis sent me a message. "Where are you?" I had my friend drop me off at the office building. She was startled. "I thought your company doesn't do overtime?" Something special came up. I messaged Louis back, "At the office." Less than half an hour later, the office door opened. I sat at my desk, waiting for him obediently. He reached up and loosened his tie, his eyes filled with exhaustion. "Explain." Thinking about today's issue, I answered honestly, "I'm not planning to quit." He let out a soft sigh. "Good. But this company. It's not really a company, is it?" I lowered my head, too nervous to look at him, and fidgeted with the hem of my shirt. What was I even saying? Clearly, Louis didn't understand either. "What do you mean? You have other companies, don't you?" "Yes, a few," he nodded. "So what's this one for?" "It's close to your home, so it's an easy commute. And it's quiet." I suddenly remembered an old post on my feed: "Please grant me a job with good pay, little work, a short commute, and no socializing." I thought my prayers had been answered by some higher power, but it turned out to be Louis Lee. He tapped lightly on my desk. "But I did want to talk to you about something. Would you be willing to work at the main office? The company provides housing. The game launches next month, and I probably won't have time to come over here anymore. Whatever you arrange, boss." "Okay. You have 3 days to move. I'll reimburse you for the moving company expenses. Next week, you'll start at the main office. I've sent you the address." Louis turned and left so quickly that I forgot to even ask him about the $10 million. I moved to the address my boss sent me and entered the code he gave me. It was a spacious apartment with 2 bedrooms, a living room, a large balcony, and a river view. At dusk, the scene outside the window looked like an oil painting. Leave it to Louis Lee to pick such a stylish place. I couldn't believe it. Was the company housing really this good? It was infinitely bigger than the apartment I used to rent for $3,000 a month, and the decor was simple yet elegant. "Me, boss, are you sure this is company housing?" "Louis Lee, there's no room in the main housing right now. Someone lives in this apartment, but they aren't there often. You can think of it as having a roommate." "Me, thank you, boss. I'll move to the other housing once a spot opens up." "Louis Lee, this neighborhood is very safe. Don't worry." One of the bedroom doors was closed, so I put my luggage in the open one next to it and settled into the guest room. On Monday, I rode my bike to the skyscraper Louis had sent me, still unsure which floor I was supposed to go to. As soon as I entered the lobby, a woman approached me. "Are you Chloe?" I nodded. "Yes." A woman in a tight black and white dress with wavy, curled hair smiled at me. I couldn't help but size her up. Her hair was glossy and smooth, her dress was professional yet chic, hitting just past her knees, and she wore exquisite leather heels. A faint, tea-scented perfume wafted over with her movements. This woman was sophisticated from head to toe. Were all the people around Louis Lee like this? She had a powerful presence but managed a slightly stiff smile. "My name is Diane Fong. I'm Mr. Lee's assistant, responsible for his external female business affairs. Mr. Lee asked me to wait for you here. Please, follow me." As we waited for the elevator, I asked, "Sorry, I forgot to ask earlier, what floor do I work on?" "Your work area is on the 27th floor. Mr. Lee is on the 28th. I couldn't help but marvel, you have 2 whole floors. You guys are loaded. So my old boss wasn't lying after all." Diane paused. "Not 2 floors. The whole building. This entire skyscraper belongs to Mr. Lee. The floors below 20 are for other businesses, and everything from 20 up is the gaming division." I audibly gasped. She took me up to the 28th floor and knocked on the chairman's office door. A man opened it, a familiar face. "We meet again, Chloe," he smiled at me. It was Mr. Evans, the driver who was always with Louis Lee. Even though I called him Mr. Evans, he seemed a couple of years younger than me. He politely extended his hand. Let me introduce myself properly. I'm Evan Lee, Mr. Lee's special assistant. He opened the door to reveal 2 desks, one on each side, with another large door further inside. Evan and Diane each pushed open one side of the large door and gestured for me to enter. Wow! A huge sofa, a massive desk, and giant floor-to-ceiling windows that flooded the entire office with golden sunlight. Who wouldn't love coming to work in an office like this? This single office was bigger than the entire small company I used to work at. So this was Louis Lee's real office. I wouldn't have dared to draw something this big even in my comics. I was truly seeing the world. Louis Lee glanced up from behind his computer screen. You're here. He took a fountain pen out of a drawer. Is a check for $10 million convenient for you to cash? I felt a little intimidated. That's not necessary, boss. It was all a joke. He looked up and stared at me for a few seconds. A joke? Didn't you say someone was going to give you $5 million to take care of you? She doesn't have $5 million anymore, I said, looking down and fiddling with my fingers. After taxes, she was left with $4 million. After paying off the rest of her car and mortgage loans for $1.5 million, she only had $2.5 million left. Suddenly, Louis Lee looked at me with an expression of pity. Since it was a joke, let's get you ready for work. The game is launching soon, and we've been holding the team lead position for this character for you. But I've never been a team lead before. He capped the pen and put it back in the drawer. Let Diane show you the ropes. Your skill level is more than enough. Believe in yourself. Diane then led me to the 27th floor. As she walked ahead and I followed, everyone we passed greeted her politely with a Ms. Fong. Diane just nodded, like a protagonist from a TV show I'd seen. A private office. This whole floor was dedicated to one of the characters. Diane led me to the office, which already had a nameplate on the door, Team Lead, Chloe. After Diane left, I sat in my office and started to unpack. The office wasn't completely soundproof. I could clearly hear the conversation from the break room next door. Did you see the new person today? Apparently, she has connections to Mr. Lee. Better be careful. Doesn't Mr. Lee have a fiancé? I heard it's Ms. Fong. No way. They don't seem that close, though. Well, this is the office, so of course they wouldn't be too obvious. But I heard this new team lead, Chloe, also has a special relationship with him. He personally parachuted her in. The voices in the break room went back and forth. So Diane was Louis Lee's fiancée? It was hard to imagine anyone not liking someone like Diane. Even as a woman, I found myself drawn to her. If you don't have work to do, then hand me your resignation letters for approval. Is company time meant for you to gossip about people behind their backs? Diane's voice cut through, making me jump. There was a knock on my office door. I hurried over to open it for her. But it wasn't just Diane outside, Louis Lee was there, too. Welcome. Dinner is on me tonight. Boss. Did you ever consider that maybe some people don't want to go to a team dinner? Eating with a group of people who were all speculating about our relationship would be incredibly awkward. Louis seemed to read my mind. Just the 4 of us. Refusing now would be too disrespectful to the boss, so I smiled and said, okay. Diane took out her phone. I'll make a reservation. Louis Lee closed my office door. Don't get the wrong idea. Diane isn't into men. My look of admiration for her instantly deepened. Louis rolled his eyes. Don't get any funny ideas. She's not into women either. Her brain is all business. A workaholic. A power woman. A role model for us all. My admiration for her grew even stronger. At dinner that evening, Diane and Evan seemed completely unfazed by eating with the boss, so I gradually started to relax. The character was based on a prototype I had drawn, which explained why I had received such a large project bonus for it before. I'm not great at socializing. I'm fine when it comes to work, but when my coworkers chatted about other things, I just couldn't join in. I had assumed Louis Lee's company would be big, but I never imagined it would be this big. Before I came, I thought everyone would just be busy with their own work. I didn't expect there would be so much time to gossip about others. I could only vent to Jessica in a text. I really don't think I'm cut out for big companies. Babe, if you're tired, just quit. I don't have a ton of money right now, but it's enough to support you for 8 or 10 years without you starving. Plus, I saved a room for you when I was renovating. You can move in with me, food and board covered. I couldn't live in a world without my bestie. Thanks, Jess. I feel so much better knowing you're there for me. But I couldn't just abandon this project before it was finished. I'd wait until it was over. I got the hang of my new responsibilities quickly. Both Diane and Evan were very supportive. Diane took me out for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day, saying it was a company perk. Occasionally, when Louis wasn't busy, he and Evan would join us for dinner. Since Diane and Evan never objected, I didn't feel like I could say anything. But the more time I spent with him, the more I realized that Louis Lee wasn't the cold, serious person I had imagined. He was meticulous, rational, and calm. His temperament was actually stable and gentle. I rarely saw him get angry or lose his temper with anyone. That was just something I had made up in my head. Sometimes I wondered what could possibly make Louis Lee anxious. He always seemed so indifferent to everything. During the weekend, I opened my comic app and saw a flood of messages in my inbox asking for updates. Author, when's the next chapter coming? It had been 2 weeks since I started at the new company, and I hadn't had any time to slack off. It wasn't just that the work was demanding, there were also too many people around. I was paranoid someone would see me drawing for fun during work hours. At the small office, I could slack off enough to post 2 or 3 chapters a week. Now, it had been 2 weeks with 0 updates. It was all that top donor's fault. The money he tipped was more than I made from meeting my update quota, which had gotten me into the bad habit of not updating on time when I was busy. I replied in the comments, "Work has been a bit busy lately. I'll find time to update." I rushed out a chapter over the weekend and uploaded it. Unexpectedly, on Monday, Louis Lee called me into his office. "Is it convenient working downstairs? Would you rather work up here?" What did he mean? When I didn't answer, he continued, "We could put a desk across from mine. Just like at the small office?" Was he worried I'd overhear more gossip from the break room? "Thank you, boss, but I'm fine where I am. If you feel like you have too much work, you can tell me. It's okay to take a break when you need one." He was acting so strange today. But I still nodded and agreed, "Okay, boss." Summer rain always comes on suddenly and fiercely. I looked at the ride-share app showing a queue of over 60 people and felt a surge of irritation. Usually, I could get Jess to pick me up, but today she had an interview for a new job on the west side of the city. With the rain and traffic, by the time she got back to the east side, I'd probably already be in a car from the queue. "It's raining. Why don't you ride with us, Miss Chloe?" Evan called out to me. I instinctively refused. "Oh, I wouldn't want to trouble you." Louis Lee spoke up blandly, "It's on the way." My smile was stiff. "Thank you, boss." When Evan's car pulled into the underground garage, the barrier gate opened automatically. Louis looked at Evan. "You can go home." I felt a wave of awkwardness. "Boss. You don't have to walk me up." Louis had already pressed the elevator button. "Like I said before, just think of this place as having a roommate. It's perfectly normal for a roommate to choose the closer apartment on a rainy day, right? You mean this apartment is yours?" I was so shocked I started to stammer. Because he had told me to think of it as sharing, I had never once tried to open the door to the closed bedroom. I'd lived in a 5-person co-ed apartment before when I was renting my first place, so it wasn't that strange. But living with my boss, that seemed a little weird. He chuckled in the elevator and pressed the buttons for the 18th and 19th floors. Just kidding. You're living in my sister's place. I live on the floor below you. You have a sense of humor, boss. How witty, I said, clapping with a smile. Inside, I was thinking, that was terrifying. Before he got off the elevator, he turned back to look at me. My sister's husband is foreign, and their family lives abroad now. She was visiting more often a while back because her baby was due, but the place is empty now. Don't worry. The thunder that night was terrifyingly loud. For once, I was looking forward to an early night's sleep on a rainy evening, but just as I was drifting off, Louis Lee called. Can you go check my circuit breaker for me? I asked groggily, Huh? Is the power out on your floor? I flicked my bedside lamp switch. No. It's been a while since I was here last, so the power might have been cut off for non-payment. Can you come down and help me insert the utility card? Could I say no? But my mouth traitorously agreed, okay, boss. I grabbed a jacket, took the stairs down to his floor, and keyed in the code he had just sent me. The utility card was right on the shoe cabinet by the door. I took it out to the meter box in the hall to reactivate the power. When I opened the door again, the apartment was filled with the beeping sounds of various appliances turning back on. The first thing I saw was a frosted glass wall with a silhouette behind it. The sound of running water came from inside. Who designs a bathroom to face the front door of their apartment? The water shut off, and Louis Lee stepped out from behind the frosted door with a towel wrapped around his waist. His hair was still dripping, a world away from his usual composed and serious look. He stopped right at the bathroom entrance and met my gaze. Thanks. I couldn't get to it just now. Sorry to trouble you. My eyes involuntarily drifted down his abs. When I snapped back to reality, I just wanted to scream. Ah! I spun around, slammed the door shut, and bolted back upstairs. Looking at the utility card still in my hand, I smacked myself on the forehead. The next day, I ran into Louis Lee taking out the trash when I was taking the elevator home. He spoke first. Just getting back? Yeah. I made dinner. Want to join? For once, Diane had something to do and didn't drag me out to eat, and now I run into Louis offering me dinner. No, thanks. I'll just order something. It's just some home-cooked food. Have a little. Think of it as a thank you for your help last night. That's just how I am. If someone invites me twice, I feel too guilty to refuse again. My mouth only allows me to say no once. Okay. I followed him back to his apartment, took the utility card out of my bag, and placed it back on his shoe cabinet. After that, Louis always seemed to run into me on my way home whenever Diane wasn't taking me to dinner, and he'd invite me to eat with him, always coming up with some new excuse I couldn't refuse. A month passed. The game officially launched, and my workload started to lighten up. The launch was a huge success, and Louis was constantly out doing press. He called me up to his office. Chloe, come with me. Boss, don't you have 2 assistants? They're both very busy. You're coming with me. It was for a simple interview. Do you want to talk about the inspiration behind your character design? I looked at all the microphones and cameras and shook my head. Then wait for me backstage. Louis handled the reporters' questions with ease. There was a special kind of charisma about him when he was working that made it impossible to look away. After the interview, he came back to the dressing room, and I handed him a bottle of water. Let's go home. Louis drove back to our building. I habitually pressed the buttons for the 18th and 19th floors. Louis canceled the 19th floor button. Aren't you going to eat? Usually, he would go home first, and by the time I got to my apartment, dinner would already be made. Today we came back together, so there wouldn't be any food. He glanced at his watch. I had the chef come over early. It should be ready by now. When we got to his apartment, the dining table was indeed set with 4 dishes and a soup. I went to the kitchen to get bowls and chopsticks, while Louis went to his room to change out of his suit and into some casual loungewear. Maybe my palate had gotten spoiled, because today's food tasted surprisingly average. After dinner, Louis looked at me. The promotional tour ends next week. We should talk. I was a little confused. Talk about what? Talk about our arrangement, he began on his own. Since he went bankrupt, and you won't tell me how he was taking care of you, I could only do it my way. I've arranged your housing, food, transportation, job, and salary. Is there anything else I'm missing? From what I know about you, I feel like you prefer to find your self-worth through your work. But if you don't want to work, that's fine, too. I completely respect your decision. There was a hint of frustration in his brow, as if this was a problem that had been plaguing him for a long time. Or do you really think I can't keep my job if I become your kept man? If you really don't want me to work, I can start training my nephew now. At worst, I'll let my sister run things from behind the scenes. It's just that moving the company's operations overseas would be a bit of a hassle. Him, my kept man? That was an interesting way to put it. Let me process that. I cut him off. How old is your nephew? 3 months. Please, let him live. If I absolutely have to choose between my career and love, I choose you. I looked up at him, studying his expression. Is it possible there's been some kind of misunderstanding between us? You're the one who said someone was going to take care of you. If you don't consider what you have with him to be love, then I admit I might have overthought things. This was a huge misunderstanding. I laughed. It's not love. It's friendship. It's family. That's my best friend of over 10 years. Louis paused for 2 full seconds in disbelief. A friend? A woman? He shook his head, a smile spreading across his face. I could tell he wasn't joking anymore, so I asked, so, what is it you like about me, boss? I'm so ordinary. I thought of Diane. Someone like her was the one who belonged by his side. Louis looked taken aback for a moment. You don't remember? Remember what? Louis took out his phone, opened his chat background, and scrolled down. It was a cartoon image of a tiger. That tiger looked so familiar. It looked like a character from my first comic. Was Louis Lee a fan? No, wait. The tiger was drawn in a single color. It wasn't one of my original drawings. Louis then went to his study and came back with a box. He opened it, and inside was a single pink-colored pencil. The letters N were carved into the end of it. Is this my pencil? Seeing I still didn't remember, Louis shook his head and pulled out a photograph. The little girl in the photo was me. The little boy crying his eyes out next to me. I compared the photo to my phone, then looked up at Louis's face. Suddenly, a memory flooded back into my mind. My mom had left me on a bench at an amusement park to go buy ice cream. On the other end of the bench sat a little boy. He was also alone, but for some reason, he just started crying. I went over and tugged on his sleeve. Hey little guy, don't cry. Want me to draw something for you? I'm older than you. I'm the big brother. Oh, that doesn't matter. What do you like? I'll draw it for you. I took out a sketchbook and pencil from my bag. The little boy thought for a moment and said, I like tigers. The fiercest tigers. I drew him a little cartoon tiger. He started crying even harder. That's not what a tiger looks like. But back then, all I knew how to draw was cartoons. How about some candy then? This candy is super yummy. I pulled a piece of fruit candy from my pocket. I looked myself over but didn't have anything else. Chloe, let's go. We're going to the merry-go-round, my mom called, holding my ice cream. Here, you can have this pencil. You can draw whatever you like with it. Just stop crying. I gave the pencil to the little boy and ran to my mom to get my ice cream. I pointed at the photo. That's you? He nodded. My mom had promised to take me to the amusement park for a month, but she was always so busy with work. When she finally had time to take me, she got a call right after we arrived. She went to a nearby restaurant to borrow an outlet for work, and I threw a tantrum and refused to go in with her. I asked her why she couldn't just wait until we got home to work. She said, only the fiercest tigers get to control other people's destinies, and she wasn't there yet. I knew she didn't want to leave me alone at the park either. So that's why he got so upset when I drew the tiger to look cute. My first serialized comic was about a fairy tale forest where there was no food chain, just a group of cute little friends who bathed together, ate together, climbed trees together, raced together, and went on adventures together. It was a dreamy, adorable world. But I was too young at the time, and that comic never made any money. I only started earning real money with my second comic, when a user named Can a Tiger Be Cute? Started showering every chapter one posted with gifts. He got me to the top of the monthly gift rankings, and that's how I started to get noticed. It all clicked into place. How did you know it was me who drew that? Well, there aren't many people who can draw a tiger that ugly. I slammed my fist on the table. Can't a tiger be cute? Lewis took my hand and rubbed it gently. If someone gives him enough security, he'll become obedient, gentle, and maybe even cute. Lewis's POV. I finally found her again. Only she could draw a tiger like that. Ever since I found her account, my daily routine after school was to wait for her updates. Watching those little animals in the forest live so harmoniously, I thought to myself that even when I became a tiger one day, I wouldn't make other little animals work overtime. That comic went on hiatus for a long time, and the account went silent. When the account became active again, it was with a new comic. What it was about didn't matter. What mattered was that there was a connection between us again. I heard she was looking for a job because she was short on money, so I started showering her with the most expensive gifts after every update. I found her boss, bought out her contract, and poached her for my company. That way, I thought, we could be closer. Why isn't the comic updating? Is she overworked? I should go ask. But when I actually got to the office, I didn't know how to bring it up. Just sitting across from her was nice enough. It was pretty interesting to watch her pretend to be busy. I was surprised to see a new chapter updated when I got home that night. I logged into my Can a Tiger Be Cute? Account and expertly sent 2 of the most expensive gifts. The second time I went to her office, another chapter was updated that night. I started to think it wasn't a coincidence. Whenever I got impatient, I'd go sit in the office for a bit, and I'd be rewarded with a new chapter that evening. That little rascal, slacking off right under my nose. She had some nerve. But since it meant I got to read a new chapter, I forgave her. Someone was taking care of her. How? Would someone taking care of her still let her work? What if she quits? The moment I saw her post, a million questions flooded my mind. It had been a long time since I'd felt that kind of anxious helplessness. All I could do was quickly type, "Don't quit." What kind of magic did this girl have that could make a man she just met willing to spend $5 million on her? It didn't matter. I had more money, didn't I? If she liked money, then I would use money to keep her here. It sounded like she had no intention of breaking up with that man, but she didn't mind having one more person. Her conditions were just so demanding. Her sugar daddy wasn't allowed to have a job. Was she afraid I'd be too busy with work to spend enough time with her? I had been trying to figure out how to get her to come to the main office without making her feel uncomfortable around so many people. I didn't expect her to be so agreeable. I was so happy when I left that I forgot to give her the $10 million. On her first day at the company, I took out the check again. A check would let her allocate the money freely, right? I never expected her to tell me that her man had gone bankrupt. I didn't know if he really went bankrupt or if this silly girl just got scammed. $5 million, gone just like that. Silly girl. Open your eyes and see that I'm much more reliable. How could I get her to come over? I suddenly received a low balance alert from my utility company on my phone. The electric account was down to $10. I had an idea. That night, I turned on the air conditioning, the treadmill, and the TV. I plugged in every device that needed charging. I watched the balance on my utility app drop bit by bit. 2 hours later, when there was only $1 left, I turned off and put away all the appliances I had just turned on and went to take a shower. The power cut out just as I turned on the hairdryer. I grabbed my phone and opened my Messenger app, then worried she might not see the message. A phone call was better. The front door unlocked. I heard her come in. A few seconds later, the lights in the apartment came back on. I walked out of the bathroom, a teasing thought in my mind, and stood right at the entrance, staring at her. She was pretty cute when she blushed and fled in a panic. Was I being too forward? But this was the her I remembered, lively, adorable, and full of energy, completely different from the Chloe at the office. It seemed I needed to create more opportunities to see her outside of work. Before bed, I habitually opened that childish fairy tale forest comic, but my mind kept replaying her expression from tonight. The girl who showed me such a warm comic when I was at my lowest and most lonely, this is how she was always meant to be.